right?
What is it changing?
Here's the setting. Here's the setting. R is 0.3. At a radius of 0.3, your permeability is 10. At a radius of 1,000, the permeability is 100, right? And it's linear. It changes linearly, right? What do you do? Set up an equation, right?
Yeah.
And what's the equation going to be like? K equals, come on, I need to hear more voices. Come on. MR plus C, right? Right? And you have a K1, you have an R1, you have a K2, you have an R2, and you're done, right? Am I making sense? Right? So you can get M and R, you can get M and C, right? I'm not going to labor that point too much. I'm just going to say MR plus C. I'm going to depend on you to get M and C, right? Right now you should be able to. Is there anyone who's not able to do that? Right. I'm going to take that as a. I'm not going to push that point anymore. Now, what's the next step? What's the next step? After you make this, what's the next step? Write your equation. What's your equation over here? dq over. Come on. What dq over what? 2 pi r h, right? dp over dr, right? Does that make sense? Okay. Now, what is my differential element right now? You're right, but I'm gonna ask until I get more answers. What's the differential element? You need to pick a shape where the properties all remain the same. What's that shape over here? It's a cylinder, right? How do I know that? I need to take a shape where the properties stay the same, all on all the surfaces of the shape. Does that make sense? That would be, yes, a cylinder, right? A cylinder, it will look like this, right? It will look like this, right? That would be my element, right? Because if I take that element like this, right, this would be the element at the top view. Does that make sense? And all along this, there would be a constant permeability. Does that make sense? Permeability would not change. Does that make sense? So what does permeability change with? Radius. Thank you. So how do I integrate this? Now, so what changes? What changes with radius? What else changes with radius? Does my flow rate change with radius? Hold on.
It should be choose Q, right? It's the same.
Your permeability changes. If I pick, okay, answer this question for me. I pick the cylinder, right? If I pick a different cylinder, if I pick a different one, right? What's gonna change? This permeability. What other property is gonna change? Flow or pressure? Why would pressure change?
Because it's flowing from higher to lower.
Yeah, but see, my flow rate would change, right? Delta P is gonna be the same from here to here. Right? Delta P, okay, listen to this. If I have this setting, delta P is going to be the same from here to here. No matter what cylinder I choose, delta P is going to be the same, right? Right? What's going to change? Flow rate. Why is flow rate going to change? Thank you. Because permeability changes. Does that make sense? To answer this question, if I pick a different element, what would change? And because of that change, what else would change? Does that make sense? If I pick a different cylinder over here, right, my flow rate would change, right? Does that make sense? Right? Yes?
Your change of pressure won't change, like your actual pressure is changing.
My actual pressure is changing, but I don't care about that. Yes, you're right. My actual pressure is changing at this point, but the flow rate from this point to this point depends on the delta P along that, right?
That was like found in the first example, where the change of the pressure.
Right, but here my Q is changing along this direction, right? Does that make sense? Am I saying this right?
Yeah, flow rate.
No.
Isn't it going That is serious.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I flipped that around and I may have messed up everything in your head. Right. I'm gonna rephrase in a second. Right. Look at this. The Q from this point to this point stays the same. Right. No, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I might have just undone everything I did today, but still, I'm just gonna go on. Right. But the flow rate, if I pick a different cylinder, right, the flow rate going through that will be the same, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But the delta P will change because of my pressure drop, right? Right? My delta, if I pick a different cylinder, if I pick this versus this, right, the volume of fluid flowing through it will stay the same, right? Because if my Q is 1,000, the same 1,000 is going to flow through the bigger cylinder and through the smaller cylinder, right? It's the same fluid, right? But the pressure, the effort required to push it through this cylinder is different than through this because permeability changes. Closer to the well, you need to put in more effort to push the same amount of fluid, right? Why? Because the permeability is lower. But away from the well, you need lesser effort because the permeability is higher. Does that make sense? Right? So, Q does not change. Does that make sense? Did that make sense? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Q did not change, so Q remains Q, right? Right? That's pretty much it. So, what we do, that's pretty much it, actually, believe it or not. Look at this, that's all we need to do. Rearrange this equation, right? Rearrange this equation now. Q by 2 pi r h dr is minus k by mu dp, right? Right? I've rearranged this equation, right? And now I need to, my element needs to go from the radius to the boundary to the well, right? Am I making sense? So I will integrate this from what are my limits here? 0.3 to 1,000, right? Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
From 0.3 to 1,000, and this is just 0 to delta P. 0 to P, sorry. Right?
So I thought the radius was changing.
So what?
Wasn't it changing with K?
Yeah. I'm going to substitute in K. I'm going to substitute in the equation.
That's one cylinder only, right?
K needs to go over here. Yeah.
Okay.
Right? So what I did over here, I left K over here, right? But K changed with radius, so I need to take K over here. That's it. Right?
Is that changing from 0 to P or from?
0 to P, or yeah, from 0 to P. From or P to PW, it doesn't matter. Right? You can say 0 to delta P, or you can say P to PW, right? And if you know the external pressure and the internal pressure, you can go P to PW, right? I mean PW to PE, right? And you integrate this, and you're done. That's it. You integrate this, and you're done. This is basically Darcy's law, but you're integrating it from 0.3 to 0, but you need to include your equation for K, right? So the equation for K that you've derived, mr plus c, you need to just say mr plus c over here and integrate this part, and you're done. Right? Just figure out in which direction what's changing, and you're done, right? Along this radial direction, permeability changes, right? But it's the same fluid. If Q amount of fluid gets in at this radius, it's going to be the same Q at a smaller radius, right? Am I making sense? If Q amount of fluid enters this big radius, right, as it flows in, it's going to be the same Q at a smaller radius, right?
So that means it's series, right?
Yes, series. Yes, this is series. Does that make sense?
So same flow, different pressure.
Same flow, different pressure. That's it. Same flow, different pressure is when you have a same Q, right? This is series.
So if the pressure is changing, your K is going to be changing. So you're going to have a function for K, right?
Yes, you're going to have function for K, mr plus c.
Yeah.
And you take it to this side, integrate it with R, and you're done. Calculate your Q. Right? Yes?
Summary of this: whenever you have series, for sure pressure is going to change, right?
Yes.
Okay. Whenever you have parallel, the Q is going to change.
Q is going to change.
It depends as well. It depends on the question. Probably depth change with depth or something.
Yeah, exactly. So to summarize, like you said, if there's a change along the flow direction, it's in series. Does that make sense? If flow happens like this, and permeability changes in this direction, series, right? Does that make sense? That's it.
Can you repeat that?
If there is, okay, so let's take this beautiful box, right? Even if I say so myself, right? Look at this. Let's say flow is happening. Flow is entering this box, in this phase and exiting this phase, right? If properties change along my flow direction, it's in series. Does that make sense? If I have a channel like this, if I have a tube like this, right? If I have a rock in this form, right? And my permeability changes like this, and my flow happens in the same direction,
So
it's in series.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This is an easy way to tell if it's series or parallel. If the change is along your flow direction, it's in series.
So your flow is not changing here.
Your flow rate is not changing here.
Your permeability is changing, so your pressure is changing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Got it. You got it. Right? Did everyone else got it?
Yeah, so how about a situation where the permeability is changing this way and the flow is going over?
Yeah. So does everyone get this? Properties changing in the flow direction is in series, right? Properties changing perpendicular to or orthogonal to your flow direction is parallel, right? Does that make sense? Just imagine a box. So imagine this thing, right? Let's say flow is happening like this. Flow is happening into the board, right? Let's say my flow is going like this. If my permeability changes like this or like this, right? It's in parallel. If properties change perpendicular to my flow direction, it's in parallel, right? Why? Because the flow, just imagine individual drops breaking off and going into each of these cells, right? Am I making sense? If properties change perpendicular to my flow direction, it's in parallel. If properties change along my flow direction, it's in series. And if I'm in series, my flow rate is the same, my pressure changes, right? If I'm in parallel, my flow rate changes while my pressure drop stays the same, right? Am I making sense?
Right.
Right. What's the time now?
I just have a quick question.
Yes.
We can go over the Z factor from the chart today.
Yeah. Let's go over gases really fast.
Just really this.
Right. So, and this is pretty easy. If you understood all of this, gases is nothing, right? The main thing you need to understand for a gas is Darcy's law. Gas is compressible. It's extremely compressible. Compared to an oil, it is very, very compressible. So the only thing that you need to understand for a gas is that your volume changes with pressure, right? Just imagine a box with a piston in it, right? Right? So this is Bohr's law for you. If you have a box with a piston inside it, right? Right? It's a closed box, you have a piston, right? Let's say the volume right now is V1, right? Let's say the pressure is P1, right? Am I making sense? If I push this piston inside, let's say this is the new position of the piston, right? 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 And my pressure changes, right? Let's say my pressure changes, my volume also changes, right? My volume is now this small volume, my pressure is increased, right? Boyle's law says that P1 V1 is equal to P2 V2. That's it. That's all there is to it. It's as simple as that. It says if I push my piston in and increase the pressure to P2, right? I can calculate. So if someone says I have a gas, it has this much volume, V1 volume. Let's say it has 1,000 meter cube at 14.7 psi. What will be the volume if I compress it to 1,000 psi? What would you do?
Yeah, you do this, but it has to be ideal gas, though, right?
What do you mean?
It has to be an ideal gas. If
Yes,
it was like
yes.
gas, we do this. Right?
Yes. If it's not ideal, guess what you do?
You look at the chart.
You just include Z1 here, that's it. Yeah, P1, B1, Z1 equal to P2, B2, Z2, that's it. Right? You just include the Z factor in it. That's all there is to it, right? If it's not ideal, you just include the Z factor. See, do you know this equation?
Yeah.
Yes? That's basically that equation. It's the same thing. I'm sorry, it's actually P1, V1 by Z1. I'm sorry. It's divided by. Right? We're basically taking this equation, we're writing two states, P1, V1, and Z1, right? And then we're writing another state, P2, V2, Z2, right? And we're dividing. Does that make sense? That's how you get that equation. Right? So P1, V1 by Z1 is P2, V2 by Z2. That's it for real gas. For ideal gas, Z is Z1, Z2 are 1, right?
Yes.
So this goes away. Does that make sense?
That's why we get the Z factor, right?
Yes, because it's not ideal, yeah. Do you know how you look up a Z factor chart?
You gotta get
Yes.
the
Temperature,
TR.
pressure, reduced pressure.
Do you know how to get it? Do you know how to get the reduced pressure, reduced temperature? Do you know how to do that?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
T over TC.
T over TC is called reduced temperature. P over PC is called reduced pressure, right? And you look that up in the chart.
Yeah. Okay, and this today he did something in class, Dr. Holly, regarding the viscosity, to find the viscosity of
Okay.
the gas.
Mhm.
And how we did that, I believe we get that first. We got the reduced temperature. We
Okay.
got the.
Hold on. You gave me that problem, right? Was it you?
Yeah.
Who gave the problem that Dr. Holly went over today?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
It wasn't a reference to anything.
Say what?
Nothing, never mind.
Okay. So this problem basically asks you to find the Q at the well, right? So this problem is basically
He's talking about the last problem we did.
so Dr. Holly apparently did a problem today. I have it right here, right? I'm going to describe it if you weren't paying attention in class, so you're fine. Right? Right? You have this really badly drawn reservoir. Yours isn't that great either. Okay.
Savage.
Yeah, average. I will concede that. Okay, so that's the height at the top and the height at the bottom, right? So the thickness is 100, right? Making sense? He wants you to find the Q at the well, right? And K varies linearly with depth. With depth, was it? With depth. The top of the reservoir has a K of 100 millidarcy. The bottom of the reservoir has a K of 200 millidarcy, right? Find Q. It's a gas well, right? It's methane. It's methane, and the pressure at the well is the pressure outside is constant. Is that the question?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Pressure
It's
outside.
actually, the way they gave it to us is what I actually wrote, is that you tell it's voltaic, so because that there's larger grains on top, so there's going to be the 200 millidarcy
Right.
on top.
Yeah. Oh, top. Okay. I'm sorry. 200 millidarcy on the top. I'm sorry. That's what would make sense. I had a brain for it. 100 at the bottom, 200 at the top, right? Does that make sense? And what else? The pressure outside is 2,500. Is that true?
Pressure on the outside. It said pressure, on pressure on the reservoir is 2,500 psi.
Yes. And the pressure at the well is. What's the pressure at the well?
Oh, it's rho GH.
Okay.
in terms of height.
Yeah, it's hydrostatic. Okay. OGZ.
Yeah.
I guess he gave you his rho and of course. Okay. Yeah. 1 gram per second.
Is there anything else you need?
I think so. Right. So, what's your first step? What's your first step? K equals what? M Z plus C. What else is changing with depth? Pressure. Inner pressure or outer pressure? What pressure is changing with depth? Well pressure. How is it changing? Rho GZ. It's given to you, right? He's given you rho, he's given you G, right? So you just multiply. So the the permeability equation is mz plus c, right? The pressure inner equation is rho gz, right? that make sense?
Oh, you mean the hydrostatic?
Yeah, hydrostatic, yeah. You realize rho Tz is linear, right? This is a linear equation too, right? It's no magic, it's the same thing. This is a linear equation. They basically go, the pressure is linear, it's hydrostatic. This is linear, right? Does that make sense?
So
This is a line.
If it's always linear, that means it's hydrostatic.
No. If it's hydrostatic, it's linear. If it's linear, it doesn't mean it's hydrostatic,
Okay.
right? It's like rectangles and squares, right? I mean, not all squares, not all rectangles are squares, but all squares are rectangles, kind of like that. Right now that we have these two things, what do we need to do? Set up the equation, right? So you have dq, you have q. What do you have? You have dq by, come on, 2 pi r dr is 2 pi r is minus k by mu, right? Go on. dp by what? dr, right? Right? Does that make sense? Oh, h. Right? Now, what everything changes with depth, right? So we're gonna have what element? What's the shape of our element? It's a disk. It's a horizontal disk, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's a lot of yeses. I'm really, really happy about this. DZ, right?
Yeah.
Make sense? Okay, so can we go ahead and do this entire problem now?
Yes.
Right? Does that make sense? Except viscosity. It's a gas, right? The viscosity that you take will be the average, right? Does that make sense? So, I'm going to explain this right now. Darcy's law is great for oil. It's also great for gas, but you need to remember something. When you use average, you need to calculate the flow rate at average pressure. At the average, at some point in the middle, right? At average pressure is what you get. When you calculate your flow rate from Darcy's law for a gas, you get average. You get the flow rate at average pressure, right? Does that make sense? Because the viscosity you take is at the average viscosity, as at the average pressure, right? The viscosity that you look up on the tables, does that make sense? Right? So what you need to do is when you need the fluid at the well, what do? So you can now I need to know if you guys will get Q out of this. Can you? Using all the things we did today? Yes?
Yeah.
Now, if I get Q from this, how do I get, this is the Q at the average pressure. How do I get the Q at the well? Use Boyle's law. That's it. How do I use Boyle's law? This is volumetric flow rate. Same thing as volume except over time, right? So, same thing applies. P1 Q1 by Z1 is equal to P2 Q2 by Z2. Right? Does that make sense?
Where the two would be, when you say P2, Q2, that could be at
any point you want, yeah. If you want it at the middle, at the center of the well, like at this depth, right? What's the flow rate at this depth on the well? Well, what would you do? You'd find the pressure over here, right? That would be your P2, right? Your P1 would be the average, the pressure, the average pressure. Your Q1 would be the flow rate that you calculated. Z1 would be the Z factor that you looked up at P1, right?
Yeah.
Does everyone know, again, does everyone know how to look up a Z factor chart?
Well, when we were doing it in class, it didn't include the Z factor.
Well,
It don't matter?
well, it does.
Oh.
It does. But, you know, if you had a reason to, I mean, he could have taken it as ideal. I don't know what the setting was in class. He could have either taken it as ideal or he could have said Z factor doesn't change, right? Z1 is approximately equal to Z2. He could have said that. I wasn't there, right?
Well, let's take it if it's not. If it's the
Yeah, this is the most general form. That's it, right? This is the most general form. This will work all the time. Does that make sense? If he says ideal gas, just that's one less thing, two less things to do, right? Looking up two things on the chart, right? Does that make sense? So you put in P2 here, you calculate Q2. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
Yes? So what?
The P1.
I'm sorry?
The P1.
Yes?
What's
P1 would be the average, right? The average pressure between these 2 points? Or?
P average.
Yes, P average, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
so
P average.
Because you have the function.
Yeah. So how would you calculate? I'm not sure how Dr. Holly did
It's
calculate
P1
this.
plus P2. Over
Right,
2.
but if P1 changed along this, you would just take it along the
yeah,
center.
you
Okay.
do an average.
Yeah.
But
So if you wanted the pressure, apparently you would take the average over here and then the average over here. The average P1 plus P2 by 2. Over here in the reservoir?
P1 plus P2.
Okay, yeah.
Doesn't matter where your two pressure points are.
But like, what's that P1? Is it like?
It's at the center of the well. It's at the center, apparently.
It could be P in, P out. It just depends on what you define as
No,
your in and out.
but if your pressure in was a function, would you take it at the center of your well?
Like, what point?
I don't think it's gonna give it to that complicated. But if it's a function,
Yes.
Yeah, to function.
If it's rho GZ, what depth would you take P1?
you would take it at your top,
At your top.
Oh,
and then your bottom would be P2 where you're flowing into it, and your average would be.
Yeah, over here. Your average would be that average pressure. I'm sorry, not here or here. So your average would be P1 would be the top, P2 would be the bottom. So yeah, the average is at the center. Yeah, the middle. Yeah, pretty much.
You find Q first, right?
Yeah, you find Q1 first. Yes.
Okay, then you find you use Bohr's law to find the Q inside the loop, right?
Yes. Chance? It's that simple. It's a simple equation.
Yeah.
The bigger problem is getting over here. Right? Getting from here to get Q1, right? And if you've understood that, I see no reason why you should panic. Even though you would. I would.
So what was known with the Z factor in it? It's just
Oh, no, I don't know. I don't know why Dr. Holly did not include the Z factor.
no, what I'm saying, like if you were to include it like on PB times Z1,
It's not times, it's divided by.
divided by.
Yeah. Right. Any other questions you might have? Concerns? Swears at Howard. I'm just kidding. He's not doing that. All right.
Can you repeat the last one again?
Which one?
Q is equal what? Q1. How'd you get that again?
No, Q is not equal.
Oh, okay.
Q is not equal. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Q is not equal to that. P1, Q1 by Z1 equal to P2, Q2 by Z2.
Oh, we're looking for Q2.
Yes, sir. Could be looking for P1. Yeah, you're basically looking for Q2. I don't think Dr. Holly make it any more complicated than that.
How do you get Q1?
I'm sorry?
How do you get Q1?
Q1 is from this entire, this odyssey.
Okay.
You'd make this treacherous journey through two integrations to get there.
Yeah, I think Mom's gonna take a picture. You can take a picture.
No problem.